start to give you the dream listing scenario. So this preys off of newer agents or agents who aren't selling much because it preys into what? Their hunger, their fantasy that I can sit on my deck or on my boat, and yeah, it just comes to real. By the way, if you haven't gotten one of these calls yet, you will. For over 10 years. This is a heads up to you and the public and your sellers. And it's gotten really difficult lately to the point where our designated broker sent out an email, if you didn't catch it.
It was good.
And do read Mike's email regarding this, and it's about listing scams. Listing scams are nothing new. We rarely talk about this stuff in our team meetings. However, they've been on the rise, and we've had several brokers in the Kitsap area be victims of the listing scam. And these have been going on for over 10 years. As soon as the internet was invented, the listing scam arrived. So let's go over what those look like. And what's touchy about the listing scam is when you have a client that you receive that you do not know, you need to verify their identification. It's safe to do that for both yourself and your reputation, but also for the buyers on the other side of the transaction. We have a duty to protect the public. So let's go over the warning signs of a listing scam. It's a good refresher, and also address any questions you might have about that. Don't become paranoid about it. Just put it on your radar and have your antenna. You should have your antenna up in this business all the time. But so let's go over the listing scam. This is so fun.
It's like that weird WhatsApp person who keeps coming through Sierra.
Right.
WhatsApp. Yeah.
Right.
That's all they'll say is WhatsApp.
Right.
I'm like, oh, but you're texting me right now.
So here's what happens. The overview of a listing scam is a scammer comes in almost always through the internet, although they're very savvy. I've had them call me personally. They don't always have broken English, so get rid of your biases. Okay? And what they do is they identify a property, often a vacant lot or a vacant home, and they are an out-of-state or out-of-country seller, an out-of-area seller, and they want to sell their house, and they have a story behind selling their house that they just want to sell it quickly and easily and inexpensively, just underprice it, sell it quickly. I just need to unload this property. Okay, and they might even, the very savvy ones will say, I heard about you from so-and-so. And how do they find out who you know?
You can find people's sales online. They're all public information.
Also, we're all friends on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook,
Zillow reviews.
Google,
Yeah, there's a
Zillow reviews, public database. You look up on the county whose house sold, go to Zillow, see that you sold the house, see a review, find out which house they sold, right? Super easy. And you're like, oh, you know, Mike Smith.
Yeah.
That's so cool. How'd you guys meet each other?
Right, okay. So the first screen to do, so let's go through the list of warning signs, and I'm going to give you some tips that weren't in Mike's list, just from personal experience. And I'm going to tell you some tips also to identify, that have helped me with identifying people who are legitimate, because we have a sensitive situation. Sometimes you do get a legitimate seller who's out of area, has a vacant lot or home, and they do need you to sell it quickly. I've had that multiple times throughout my career. So how do you know a legit person from a fake person, right? Okay. So first thing, the scammer will pose as the owner, and they're going to have, they're going to know the information. They're going to know all the same information about the property that an owner would know. And that's what's really confusing about it. And you're going to put, it's frustrating because it's a time waster. You will put time in. So again, if it happens, remove the emotion. Don't be like, don't spend days going, oh, right? Give yourself 10 minutes. Go get frustrated for 10 minutes. Share it with somebody. We'll give you compassion. If you want a hug, we'll give you a hug. If you want a high five or a pillow to punch something, we'll give you a pillow. Whatever your thing is. But then let it go. Otherwise, you're going to waste more time. Yay, scammer. They're using the online property search sites, Zillow, Redfin, County Parcel Search, to triangulate the properties. That's how they're finding the information to post as the owner. The second thing is they ask you to set up a phone call typically. They'll set up a list, kind of some sort of listing appointment. They want to set up they're like, hey, let's do this. There's typically some sort of pressure. The really savvy ones will not. They're going to very closely emulate what a real seller will do. Can we meet tomorrow or in 3 days just to talk on the phone? So they want you to set up an appointment and list the property. I'm just going to write this. They're trying to convince you to list the property. And this is usually where it starts to get, maybe your radar will start to go off because you're like, that's weird. We talk for 5 minutes and they're like, or 15 minutes or 30, and they usually don't want to talk long, by the way. And they're going to say, just send me the listing documents. So one of the red flags is when they say, just send me the listing documents. Because how many of you have gone to a real legitimate seller meeting and you're 10, 20 minutes in and the seller goes, just send me the listing documents?
No, they're always playing it cool. They're never like,
I
oh,
wish
my
they
gosh.
would do that.
Right.
That's why they do
5
this,
days
right?
later,
So you go,
Uh-huh.
oh wow, this is gonna be easy.
Just, okay. So if you hear that, flag goes up. All right. They'll usually just want a quick price, or they'll say they know the price. Just list it for, it should be around $150,000 for a lot, and they're like, just list it for $50,000. They usually want to list it for below value. They start to give you the dream listing scenario. So this preys off of newer agents or agents who aren't selling much because it preys into what?
Their hunger.
Their hunger, their fantasy that I can sit on my deck or on my boat and it just comes to them. Yep. Like, oh wow. So let these guys go to those people.
And they usually kind of are flattering too.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. We should include that. I heard great things about you.
They're like, I know you can do this really fast.
Yeah. You're one of the top agents.
I looked on Google for top agents, in Kitsap County.
You came up.
There was you.
Yep.
And then you Google yourself and you're like,
I don't exist yet. Right?
Yeah, but they do usually blow some sunshine up your butt.
Yes. By the way, if you haven't gotten one of these calls yet, you will.
I've gotten 2.
Yeah. I've lost track. They accept what you say with really quick acceptance. And just think about this. If this is what a scammer does, legitimate sellers do the opposite of this, and we get frustrated with them. So stop getting frustrated with legitimate sellers. Be grateful. Yay, they're not accepting what I say quickly.
They're actually reading their contract.
Be grateful for that.
Yeah.
Wow, they're a thoughtful, legitimate, thinking, caring. They care about what they're doing. They're screening me as they should. Right? thank you for not being a scammer and wasting my time. Basically, if someone's giving you pushback and taking their time, they're actually not wasting your time. They're valuing your time because they're serious about selling. Let that sink in. Respect it. Nourish it. Okay. Quick acceptance comes in different forms. Quick acceptance will come in the form of they accept whatever you say, and you can play with them. If you just want to test, like, I'm not sure if this is a scammer or not. Say, well, the market is really fill in the blank the opposite. See if they call your bluff. Because a legitimate seller has probably Googled what's going on in the market. And then you can backtrack. If they call you, you know, if you start to go, it might be a legitimate person. Go, I'm not advocating lying, but you're doing it. I'm saying this for the public too, because we'll probably post this video. The public needs to understand this is an issue you all are dealing with in the field. So when we meet with somebody we do not know off of the internet, which we often do, the public needs to know that we have to screen them to make sure they're legitimate. Because if we list a false property out there, we hurt a bunch of buyers. And we will not do that to the best of our ability. The other thing we need to do is if we're representing a buyer, a listing agent might be listing a house of a buyer that is not legitimate.
Well, and if we're seeing those screaming deals and they just seem a little bit too good, we need to
double check.
Investigate.
Yes.
And that's why we love our title.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing something, but if we just say, okay, we'll come over and check out the house, wouldn't that just squash it right away?
No.
No, because they're vacant.
Oh,
So
they're
remember,
vacant.
so
Oh, okay.
think about like when you listed the poop house, right?
Yeah.
You were over there looking at poop house by yourself, vacant house. I'm sorry, by yourself. I think with Alan, and running around doing all so similar to that, where you're like, you know, and a lot of times it's land.
Yeah, land.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I got one of these calls, I was like, hey, I wouldn't recommend listing that low. You know, this property's worth twice that.
Yeah, I
So
guess
why
I'm
don't we try listing at 125? And they were like, oh, I'll find somebody who does what I want. I was like, great.
trying to
Yeah.
Have a good day.
How
Yes.
How do they get this? How do they get the proceeds even? I don't know.
Because
Oh,
the
we'll
money
go over
gets
that.
wired, they don't catch it until later.
Yeah, they catch it usually 2-4 days after the money's wired.
Jeez.
Yep.
I have gotten one of those.
Okay.
You said land, it was at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I remember you being, that's right. You
They tend to prey off of newer brokers, which we're not, you know, this is really helpful for you. Most of the newer brokers tend to get the calls at the front end of their career. The other thing is they'll accept offers quickly. And if you do happen to accidentally list something like this and they're like accepting ridiculous offers, they just want the money. And you can squish it at any point because it's an illegitimate contract because it's not really the real person. You understand? And just go to Mike. Go to your designated broker. Yes.
I guess I'm just missing this. How does this even get past escrow?
Well, these people fake everything.
They pretend they are the owners.
Doesn't have ID
Right.
and stuff too, and you can wire money.
So, you know, what happens is they close, and then the money gets wired to escrow. Escrow disperses it, and they disperse it to the fake owner because fake owner is dealing with escrow and gives escrow the wiring instructions to their fake bank account. Now they've got the money and run. And then the buyer has had a lot sold to them
That's not legally.
It's already owned.
that's already owned by somebody else. But I don't really understand all that. I don't know if it's actually sold to them because it gets recorded, I would think. So imagine if you're the seller of that property and it, right? What a legal mess. I'm sure you consult with an attorney, right? We're not going to go that far because I don't know. Number 4, remote closings. I'm not going to come in and sign an escrow. I need my closing to happen in London, England, or Houston, Texas, or Argentina. Understand? And I've legitimately had clients who needed to close. One example is in the jungle in Cambodia. They were nurses for WHO? World Health Organization.
That's kind of cool.
And they were sellers?
They were sellers.
So how did they do that?
We got them their documents
So
there.
they had to just do what, signatures and then send them?
Yeah, they had a courier take them.
That's awesome.
Or you
I've had to
sign
have
a
FedEx
POA
from-
and there's another way to sign a POA.
Right, but
Yeah.
these guys actually needed to sign, and they had a courier take the documents to them in the jungle. It was very cool, right? Okay. So,
On Silverback.
so they use fake. By the way, to answer your, Mike covers the identification and escrow stuff in his email, but they use fake, stolen identity.
Gotcha.
And how would it get past title? Like if you
They're
open
using
that-
stolen identities
I mean,
or fake identities.
That's annoying.
I
Yeah.
mean, they have like driver's licenses and all the things that have the right name and.
So what's happened is, decades ago we could rely on identity IDs and stuff to verify people's identities. Before we had identities, we had to rely on instinct to verify things. Now then we had to identify or rely on identities. Guess what we have to do now? Again,
Back to instinct.
back to instincts. So fine tune your spidey sense, right? Maybe we're the Spider-Man team. Whew, my spidey senses. No go. Here's one of the things the things I've identified as consistent is they will insist on a title company or escrow company of their choosing. And what's difficult, and investors really need to get a clue on this one. Investors often also insist on a title company or escrow company because they save money using those, a certain one. Problem is now they look like a scammer because investors, like a scammer, are also out of area. Investors, like a scammer, are also insisting on title and escrow company. Investors, like scammers, are also wanting to sell the property quickly. Investors, like scammers, are you getting this, investors?
Oh boy.
God,
They should just say no.
I'm an investor. And I listen to them bitch all the time about brokers don't want it. It's like, you guys look like scammers. Like, get a clue. Get a clue. All right. Well, and then their grand finale is they disappear with the funds. They disappear. Funds disappear. Disappear. Funds disappear. Okay. Questions? Comments? No?
With the listing, person who took the listing, is that on us? Obviously, it's on us. Are we going to
You figuring
real
out
estate?
liability?
Yeah, liability with all.
I don't
of that
know.
at the end.
I don't know.
Okay. Real estate channel.
Yeah, I got real estate jail.
That's why
Probably not.
AWS has errors in emissions insurance.
Yeah.
Probably, that'd be my, yeah, that would be my guess.
That's one of
You're
the, I hope,
being defrauded. The buyers are being defrauded. The
Yeah.
buyer's agent, escrow,
Entitled.
the actual selling. Everyone's
that's why we
being.
hang our license with a firm too.
Yeah,
Weird.
yeah,
Is that all fixed?
yeah. Here's some, just some tips on this, guys. When you're screening people, some tips. When possible, do everything you can to verify people in person. That's why meeting with a seller is so important. And a lot of people, just the nature of our world right now is they don't want to meet in person.
Got Zoom too.
What's sad is more people than ever need to meet in person. They need this. And you're going to have a better sale if you meet people in person. It just calms things down. So meet in person. In person. Ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions. Those of you who know me know my dad was a detective. I was the subject of many questions growing up. Oh, really? You went to your friend's house? What's their name?
Yeah,
What'd you
I feel
do?
like questions about like how did you get this property, right?
Right.
Like when you're first.
Or some of the things you love about this property.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, I think that.
I'm going to go back because I want to get off track on the question thing. Here's the thing about somebody who's lying. The more questions you ask, at some point, it'll expose the lies. So when I snuck out of the house, the questions were, right? So where did you go? How was dinner? Would you have to eat at dinner? Salad. What kind of salad? Was it iceberg or spinach? Right? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Ask details that eventually, so that you'll start to notice them, they're fabricating. And they'll either get too detailed and then go back, go away a little bit, and then go back. Because what's going to happen when they go away and then you come back? They can't remember.
You gotta remember what you lied about.
They're going to start tripping on themselves.
Well, they're probably talking to multiple agents. I would assume.
Oh yeah, they're just looking for whoever
Yeah,
will do
anybody
it.
who takes the bait.
So ask questions, and like Carrie said, ask them. One of my favorite questions: tell me the story of this house. Just start general, and then funnel them down. They'll get frustrated. A real seller. Well, how does
About their house all day long.
they're going to talk about? They're going to love that question. I had 3 kids here. I raised them all. We found it. We just knew this was the house for us. A scammer? You don't need to know about that. It doesn't matter. I just want to sell this.
Told you to just list it for $50,000.
Can you just send me the documents? So this is probably the best thing, in my opinion, you can do. Oh, I'd really love to meet you. This sounds like a gorgeous piece of land. You don't need to meet me.
I will fly to London.
That's how.
Yeah.
That's how my land.
Yeah.
My flight right now, actually.
Right. Right. I've always wanted to go to London. Oh, you don't need to come to London. Oh, that sounds great. Let's have tea.
Be there at 5 p.m. tomorrow. See you soon.
Where's
Right.
your favorite fish and chips? I'll
Yeah,
buy.
yeah, exactly. Right. Right. And monitor the listings you're showing your buyers.